Hey, what's up, guys? Now that the weekend is over and we have celebrated Father's Day, it's time to definitely jump right back into the swing of things and bring you some more video game commentary and news. Today we're going to be looking at the trailer for the newest entry in one of the most over-the-top game series in history, Just Cause 4. Square debuted the new entry of the series at their E3 press conference this year. The Just Cause series follows protagonist Rico Rodriguez as he liberates oppressed peoples by making any structure in the game that even has a hint of the color red on it go boom. Alright, let's take a look at the trailer. The trailer begins by showing us a few establishing shots of the country we will be exploring in this entry in the series, Solis. The narrator for the video states that this is the biggest map in the history of the series. If you consider the map for the last game was a staggering 400 square miles, you can get somewhat of an idea of the vast area that you're going to be able to explore in this game. At the very beginning of the trailer, you can see that the graphics have had a major overhaul since the third entry in the series, and I would guess Avalanche is using a brand new graphics engine for the game. One intriguing thing also is the tornado he happens to be looking at. Are we going to see a dynamic weather system in this game? Yep, it looks like it. A tornado is sucking everything up into it. This will make for some awesome environmental hazards to watch out for and some hilarious stunts, I'm sure. Next, as we cut from the beautiful scenery and wildlife to a tank and platoon of soldiers, the narrator tells us that underneath all of this lies oppression, fear, and violence. So this also confirms that this game will continue the narrative that ran through all the other games. A dictator is in power and ruling the area, and Rico must liberate the citizens of the country. In this game, we are introduced to Gabriella, who is the leader of a paramilitary force called the Black Hand. I know, but these games have always been cheesy with their character names, and have taken somewhat of a light-hearted approach to this type of subject matter. Next, we get introduced to the physics system that's behind the dynamic weather in the game. If you notice during the footage of the tornado, it is actually tearing down trees throughout the landscape and also destroying entire bridges along with other structures we've seen. This destruction model can make for some interesting scenarios, especially if you're trying to hide from the enemy only to have a tornado to destroy your cover. We also get to see in quick fashion that lightning, sandstorms, and blizzards will play into the game also. I understand what can happen from a gameplay standpoint with a sandstorm and a blizzard, but lightning? Lightning presents hazards for the player for sure, but I wonder if you can use it to your advantage, like having a way to direct where lightning will strike. I guess we'll find out in the near future and in the final game. After the extended look at the weather systems in the game, we get some insight into the vehicles for Just Cause 4. The narrator tells us that the vehicles have been completely overhauled and include new additions like bulldozers, car transports, and even a crane. If you look closely at the crane in this footage, it looks like one of those with a massive magnet like you would see in a junkyard, so picking up a vehicle would not be out of the question with this. Although it's not shown here, they also state that cranes featuring wrecking balls will be in the game. Avalanche is trying to appeal to any and everything you could think of to cause destruction with this game. We also learn that the handling for vehicles has been updated, and I certainly welcome this as the cars and motorcycles in previous entries have had handling that ranged from a block of wood with wheels to RC car-like on rails handling. It was inconsistent and unrealistic, and not in a fun way. Many times I can remember feeling like the handling for the cars was working directly against me. Next, the trailer addresses probably the second biggest question on my mind when this game was announced. What new things can I do with my grappling hook? Luckily, we get plenty of answers here. First, we see that you can still reel in your tethers to squish enemies or send them flying into one another. Also, if you look at the huge fuel canister, you can see a total of 6 tethers present there. I hope that we can get even more to use, but that is an improvement over the last game's 4. It is also stated by the narrator that the Grapple has more tethers than ever before, so we definitely know there will be an improvement on this front, but we're not given any specific details. We also get to play around with booster rockets again in this Just Cause, and we can even see a couple of balloons used to transport items. Then the trailer moves into discussing the various types of enemies that players will face in the world, and we are told that the stakes have never been higher for Rico. Not really sure what that means, but I think the stakes have never been higher in every game in the series. We see enemies that carry ballistic shields now, and Rico running from a drone that's firing at him. Then we see a lineup of all the enemy types. It looks like we're going to have a standard run-of-the-mill assault enemy, a sniper, some shield guys, and then the 3 in the middle look like different stages of an armored enemy type with one wearing an exoskeleton. We then learn that the enemy's AI has been improved, and they are now able to throw grenades, turn invisible, and use mortar fire based on which archetype you're facing. Lastly, we get a few shots of the locals of Solis, and it is confirmed by the narrator that the game is indeed using a new graphics engine called the Apex engine. You can see from these shots that the draw distance in the game seems to run for miles, and the lighting is the best in the series, bar none. We end the trailer with another montage of explosions, Rico tying balloons to enemies to carry them away like in Metal Gear Solid 5, and more weather-based destruction. The game is also coming out on December 4th of this year, so we don't have to wait very long to try our hand out at liberating another country. Before we end this video, I mentioned earlier that the second biggest question I had about this game concerned the grappling hook and the number of tethers you had. Well, my number one question concerns multiplayer. Will we see a multiplayer mode in this entry in the series? If Avalanche is really about embracing this type of over-the-top action, then it would only make sense to include a mode where you could do all these things with your friends. Unfortunately, Avalanche confirmed in an interview that the game will not feature a multiplayer mode. I was really hoping for this feature to be added to the game, as there are so many Avalanche supported fan-made mods that allow this functionality on the PC version of the game, but of course, we don't have that on console. In my opinion, this would substantially broaden the appeal of the game, but who knows, could we see it added in a future update? Alright guys, so that was the reveal trailer for Just Cause 4. After playing all the previous entries in the series and having a lot of fun with the physics-based destruction that they offered, I'm ready to jump back into the shoes of Rico Rodriguez and set another country on fire. With all the work that's been put into updating the graphics and physics engine also, it will look better than ever before. Let me know in the comments below what you guys are looking forward to most in Just Cause 4. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to my channel for more video game news and commentaries. Until next time, guys.